Democrats and lefties losing subscribers after the Kamala Harris loss. Not happy about the results of the election and probably feeling misled by these show hosts. Their viewers are now going to other greener pastures, or redder pastures, rather. And so this came out from the David Pakman show. Michael Malice clipped this for us. Says apparently these guys are losing subscribers, losing supporters because they, in my opinion, were misled. And I've seen some shows like this where they will and were every day posting and sharing stories about Kamala's success. Then you'd have those little aberrations in the polls, like in Iowa, where they said Kamala's going to win Iowa. And we all were sitting here going, you guys are delusional. What are you talking about? It's made up. It's a propaganda push poll. It's not real. But they took it and ran with it. No, let's go. And people had faith in them, that they were being honest and sharing good, actionable data. And some people apparently feel like many show hosts were leading them astray. And that's why they're leaving. And so Michael Malice is giving us one example of this, saying that David Pakman is talking about his channel and people abandoning it.
I'm going to tell you something that is terrifying me. I always try to come here and put a positive face on everything, but there is something going on that is terrifying me. When I woke up this morning, we had lost 5,000 YouTube subscribers compared to where we were last night. Now, the first thing I thought was, is this a glitch? We've been on YouTube for 15 years or something like that. And subscribers always just go up. They just never go down. They go up. Is something wrong with my channel? Is someone attacking my channel? What's going on? So I started texting, and I texted Brian Tyler Cohen, and I texted Tyler Cohen and Brian Cohen and Brian Tyler, all of them. I texted all of them. I texted Jesse Dollemore. I texted Luke Beasley and Farron Cousins and Sam Cedar. And every single one of our channels since last night is hemorrhaging subscribers. What is it that is going on? Here is a graphic. As you can see, subscribers just go up, up, and they are down. It is not just YouTube subscribers. We are seeing record cancellations of paid memberships. Record cancellations. These are the people that keep the show. Now, for a moment, I thought, if it's just YouTube, maybe YouTube is purging people who are inactive subscribers. And once a year, usually YouTube does this and you see a little decline and then numbers go back up. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And if that were the case, we wouldn't be seeing paid membership cancellations on the website. So now I understand what is going on. It's terrifying, but it is happening.
Yeah, a bunch of people were listening to these guys and believing them when they came out with their Iowa polls, when they came out with their fake polls showing Kamala's up +1, +2, +1, +2. I don't watch their shows. I don't know if they caveated a lot of that stuff or if they were clear about the risks associated with that data and that presentation, or how they conduct themselves on their shows, quite frankly. But what we saw in general terms was a puff piece about a woman who was totally incompetent and who had accomplished nothing. And it was a giant facade. And so I would feel duped if I bought into that and I was fed the same garbage every day that she's going to win. She's going to win. She's going to win. You may have even donated. She's going to win. She's going to win. And I think that they knew better. And so there's questions here, right? Who do you ascribe blame to? Now, I also want to be clear that we're in the aftermath of an election. And during election season, everybody becomes a little bit of a cheerleader, I think, if you're being effective. You saw this last election cycle. There were people on the right who would come out and say, Trump would do this, and no, I can't vote for him until he does this. And they were starting to knife people a little bit, bringing up issues that, in my opinion, didn't matter and weren't worth debating about in the middle of an election season. And so what you try to do is balance things. And the way I think about it is you've got 3 years where you're diving into the meat and potatoes. You challenge your own leadership. We'll be holding the Trump administration accountable, right? If Trump comes out and starts eliminating our free speech like the Democrats did, we're not going to be happy about that. Okay, if Trump opens the border up bigger than Kamala did, we're not going to be happy about that. But he didn't do those things, and we're not prognosticating that he's going to do those things. And so we are standing behind him in those ideas and that administration pursuing those ideas. Packman and the Democrats are now trying to figure out how to respond to that. But during the campaign, I think Ronald Reagan said, you never speak badly about a fellow Republican. And so those 3 years, you hold your side accountable and you debate the ideas and you defend your administration and you fight for Senate leaders and you fight for judges and you fight for all of those things. And so I understand the transition in the final hours of a campaign. You're right. Let's go. We're going to win this thing. Get out there, keep the energy up, go and vote. I understand that side of the argument. And we certainly did that here, right? We're not making mountains out of molehills. When Trump does a little stupid Puerto Rico joke or something, there were a lot of people, and Trump didn't even do that, but there were people on the right that this is finally shocking to us, and I can't believe it. Relax, all right? We're like 3 weeks out from an election, so just bite your tongue on that one for 3 weeks. I get all of that, and I think that we communicated that here, that this is election season, this is what we're doing, this is the energy behind it, but we had a legitimate candidate. We didn't throw the duly nominated candidate out of the party and then substitute them in for someone else. This felt like a bunch of people just grasping for a solution to a very serious problem that they had. And now they're having to deal with the repercussions, and their audience is unhappy about being duped. So again, I don't watch their shows and I haven't seen how he comported himself, but I would imagine that their cancellations are related to people feeling misled, people feeling betrayed, people feeling like they were served information that was bad and led astray.
So as you can see, this is a crisis. They're losing.
This is Nate the lawyer. What's up, Nate?
Paid members, thousands and thousands of subscribers from all across liberal media. And that's because I think people feel like they've been lied to, right? Like you weren't telling us the truth. You were telling us stuff that was obviously false. And now people feel betrayed by that. So that's why
this is interesting. We're watching David Packman watch Nate the lawyer. It's like Inception.
I'm not going to support this, and are going to people who they feel to be more reasonable in their assessment. Now, one thing I'll say about David is David went on and then gave a reason why he believes that he got it wrong.
To me, what happened is actually far simpler, and it's going to come off as far more offensive than these explanations, but I think it is far more accurate. Millions of Americans, quite literally, have no idea what's going on. Ugh. And I know that it's,
so
David, are you doing the Republicans are stupid thing again? Listen, there's plenty of uninformed Democrats. There's uninformed independents. But there is a degree to which millions of these Trump voters have literally no idea what's going on.
Okay, why did your subscribers and your membos cancel? I'm sure they weren't Trump supporters. This is great, man. They should continue this strategy. Just call everybody who didn't believe them idiots. All right, we're done with this clip. All right, that is David Packman. Now, other people who are melting down, the keys guy, Alan Lichtman, saying the keys missed. This was another person deluded by TDS who misapplied his own keys. I think the keys actually have some nice framework to them. If you apply them correctly, they probably would have worked this time. I haven't done a deep dive analysis on that, but I'm sure if you applied them correctly, then he would have gotten the right answer. But he's so anti-Trump and delusional that he misapplied his own keys, and now he's having to eat crow over it.
Look, my prediction for this presidential election was wrong. I own up to it.
Yeah.
Right now, I am taking time off today, Wednesday, through my live show Thursday. My aim is to assess why the keys were wrong and what we can learn from this era and what the election means for the future of our country going forward. The show will be at 9 p.m. Thursday, November 7th.
All right, so he was upset about it. We'll listen to what his reaction was in a second, but here's a highlight reel from election night with Alan Lichtman.
But based in Pennsylvania, to be honest with you.
You're nuts, dude. You're nuts.
This is him and his son on election night.
Not based on the vote, but based on how far ahead she is compared to Biden.
Okay,
Still giving New York Times Trump a slight edge.
in Pennsylvania.
I don't see it. Wow. I think she's going to win Pennsylvania, despite what the New York Times is projecting.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about.
I don't see how she doesn't win Pennsylvania.
I agree.
Because she won Pennsylvania and she's doing better.
Don't get too wrapped up in the New York Times projection. I don't even know if they're mathematically sound. Don't get too wrapped up in them.
I'm worried about everything. I still think she's going to win Pennsylvania, but
Yeah, me too. What is looking iffy to you right now?
the New York Times is projecting Trump to win all three of the blue all states.
What?
Yep. A lot of processing of mail ballots, Pennsylvania. Not counting them until today.
49.3% for Bucks in Harris when it was 51 for Biden. Philadelphia 78 for Harris when it was 81 for Biden.
Not good. Votes that are going to be counted tomorrow.
Dad, there's not going to be that many. There's
But it's probably not going to be enough. There may be other votes. Remember, overseas votes can come in late.
Just keeps going.
Doesn't that count as provisional votes or no? It has to. That's
Almost. Yeah,
counted
keep
as
going, guys.
provisional
Almost
Yeah.
there.
votes. She lost. I hate to say that because I've been hopeful all night, but I think she lost.
I do too.
Oh, brutal. All right. So good stuff there. And voice of the people saying, hey, wrap this clip up because there's more.
At a recent rally, a bunch of young white men, Trump voters, were asked, why are you voting for Trump? And they said, because gas prices are so high. The truth is that gas prices are at their lowest post-pandemic point, tied with a bunch of post-pandemic lows. That is just the truth. So saying I'm voting for Trump because of high gas prices when gas prices are low, you are simply clueless, and Trump benefits from the clueless vote. Same thing with an
Okay, so why are your subscribers then leaving since you're educating them so well? Voice says apparently he told them, don't cancel. He's telling his audience, don't cancel. Keep your support here and come back. So Alan Lichtman was then on CNN explaining his failure.
And the keys, because the keys depend upon a rational, pragmatic electorate deciding on, based on governance, whether the incumbent party should get 4 more years. And we've seen the explosion of some trends that have existed before, but not to this extent. Disinformation.
Oh, yeah.
Elon Musk is, I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation. 2 billion views of his spreading of disinformation, not just about the economy, but about immigrants, about minorities. We've never seen disinformation at this scale. Next, we have never seen to this scale the agitation of 3 trends that have been very deeply embedded in American history: misogyny, racism, and xenophobia. First anti-immigrant law was 1798, and Donald Trump wants to revive it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so maybe he'll have to come up with 2 other keys. One for Elon Musk and one for misogyny. All right. Nice job there, Alan. What a total failure. So CNN has a report. They say this is even worse than you could imagine for them. First time that there's no clear front runner. Who's going to be the heir apparent in the Democratic Party? Who's it going to be? Anybody from the Biden administration? No. Booty? Blinken? Mayorkas? Not Kamala again. Hillary? Newsom? Whitmer? Warren? Fannie? Who?
There isn't one. There's no early favorite. There's no early clear favorite. And that is real. The bottom line is when you have no incumbent Democratic president following this year, we've looked back at similar situations. Back in 2017, Joe Biden was the clear heir apparent heading into 2005 and then 2013 heading into the 16 campaign. Hillary Clinton was way up in the national polls. It was pretty clear she was the heir apparent. How about Al Gore going into the 2000 campaign or 04? Again, the clear heir apparent. You have to go all the way back to the 1992 campaign with this giant question mark over here. Let's see if I can draw it in. There we go. Where there was no clear heir apparent. This is going to be the first cycle, it seems, since going back all the way to the late 80s, early 1990s, in which there is no clear early frontrunner for the next Democratic nomination.
I will say the Democrats won this one. And in this one where they did have an heir apparent, they ended up winning when it wasn't that person.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
So maybe they're better off.
Maybe they're better off because remember, Hillary Clinton, even though she seemed to be the heir apparent apparent going into the 2008 campaign. Of course, it was Barack Obama who basically came out of nowhere after that '04 convention speech to go on to win the nomination. So it might actually be good news for Democrats that there's no heir apparent, but the bottom line is there isn't one.
Okay, in terms of being in the wilderness, sometimes in the past, Democrats have been able to latch on to the outgoing president as someone who can give them guidance. Where does that sit this time?
Yeah, even after 2016, you go into 2017 and Democrats control no levers of the Congress. Democrats have no real heir apparent necessarily except for Biden. But Barack Obama at least had an approval rating nationwide of 53, right? Look at where Joe Biden's is. 40% at this point. 40%. You have to go all the way back to 1980 as I come to John's side of the screen to find an a departing incumbent Democratic president to have an approval rating as low as Joe Biden's is right now. When you make the comparison to Jimmy Carter on popularity, you know that you're in bad shape.
And then when it comes to what power they actually have in Washington, historically speaking, having no levers of power, they haven't been there that often.
They really haven't been. They've been a little bit more apparent this century, but a GOP pres plus a Congress in the last 90 years, you got 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times, just 5 times in the last 90 years in which the Democrats controlled neither house of Congress, which seems most likely at this point, though we haven't projected the House, and not the presidency. So the bottom line is, anywhere you look, John, everywhere you look, the Democrats are in this deep, dark state because they have no heir apparent, the incumbent president's unpopular, and they hold no levers of power in Washington, most likely come January.
All right, so good stuff there in the wilderness. No doubt about it. So how do they get out of the wilderness? One thing is Biden could resign and make Kamala the first president ever.
Is looking for. That is my question. I'll start with you.
Joe Biden has been a phenomenal president. He's lived up to so many of the promises he's made. There's one promise left that he could fulfill, being a transitional figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
It would absolve
Wow.
from being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat. And it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency and doing things that the public want to see is the time. This is the moment for us to change the entire perspective of how Democrats
Okay, this has now jumped from an internet meme to a Sunday morning show.
Jamal's out here right now.
Congratulations.
Season of House of Cards.
I thought you were going to say, what about the Supreme Court? That's also out there.
The Supreme Court might happen. I don't know if it will, but I think this is something that's
Is looking
Wild. So they'll make the first woman president promotion from the vice president. So once again, another position Kamala has never earned will be handed to her. Incredible work there from the Democrats. All right.